Hello, everybody. So today we're going to jump into the next unit for us, and this one is going to deal with mortgages. So a mortgage, you've probably heard mortgages talked about online or on the radio, on TV. You probably have a basic idea of what a mortgage is and how it works already. But for those of us that don't know, a mortgage, it's a special kind of loan. It is a loan. It's a special kind of loan that people take out to pay for a property, such as a house, right? um, when you take out a mortgage, um, essentially the bank, which is where you normally get your mortgage from, uh, gives you the money to pay for the house as a loan, and you have to pay the bank back. But in a mortgage, the bank essentially owns your house until you've paid it off because they hold it as collateral. All right. So a couple things that we're going to talk about here, a couple terms that we need to be familiar with. Um, the first one here is an amortization period. Okay, so an amortization period, it's the duration of the loan, essentially, or the duration of the mortgage. In Canada, these are typically 15 years, 20 years, or 25-year mortgages that the bank will offer. And a term of a mortgage is how often the payments are made to the bank. So usually when you take out a mortgage, you're going to make a payment every month or monthly. Um, because these loans last for so long, it takes so long to pay these loans back, particularly in the Vancouver area where our housing market is so expensive. Um, the terms of the mortgage will typically change over the course of the years. So once you set up a mortgage, typically those are not the exact same numbers you're going to be working with through the entire amortization period. So every year, um, or sorry, not every year, in Canada, um, the most often that a bank can do this is every 6 months, semi-annually, right? So this is due to the fact that interest rates change, housing markets change. So at most, every half year, you can renegotiate with your bank certain things like the interest rate for a mortgage. Okay. So when you go to own a home, what you need to do is usually first you need to make a sizable down payment. So that's a large lump sum that's used to initially purchase the house, right? So in Canada, there's no maximum down payment, but there is a minimum down payment that you need to make for homes, for a mortgage. So if the home you're purchasing or the property you're purchasing is less than $500,000, the minimum down payment you must pay is 5% of the price. Okay. If the home is between 500,000 and just under a million, then you still pay 5% on the first 500,000, and then any amount of money over 500,000, you have to pay 10%. Okay. And if the home is $1 million or more, then you are required to make a 20% down payment, which is huge, right? That's $200,000 minimum if your home is $1 million. Um, like I said, there is no maximum. You can put more money down, and in fact, if you do put more money down than the minimum, what that will do is essentially it's lowering the principal amount of your loan, which, as we know with compound interest, if you lower the principal amount, the overall interest will be smaller over the course of the loan. So if it is possible, it is better to make as large as a down payment as you feasibly can. Okay, so we can do a bit of practice with our um, um, terminology here. So we can complete this chart where we're filling in our amortization period and our term. So a 3-year mortgage at 5.2% interest amortized over 25 years. So our amortization period, again, is the length of time that we're going to take to pay back the entire loan. So in this case, our amortization period is going to be 25 years. And it looks like they've negotiated a 3-year mortgage before they are renegotiating the terms of their mortgage. Okay, so although they're going to take 25 years to pay it, the current mortgage that they have set up at their current interest rate is a 3-year term. Okay, so they're going to pay this mortgage at 5.2% for 3 years. After the 3 years, of course, they will have 22 years remaining on their mortgage, but they're most likely going to negotiate a new interest rate with their bank afterwards. Okay. Next one, a mortgage negotiated for 5 years at 4.2%. If payments are continued at this rate, the loan will be paid off in 15 years. So again, our amortization period, the total length that it's going to take to pay off. So in this case, it's 15 years. And they've negotiated 5.2% for 5 years. Right there. Okay, so just some terminology to be familiar with. Do another example, and as you can see, we're going to use our TVM solver to help us out with this one. So Justin and Jennifer, they bought a house in Ridge Acres for $300,000. They made a 20% down payment, and they negotiated a 5-year mortgage with an interest rate of 3.82% per annum or per year, and that's compounded semi-annually. And the total term of their mortgage is going to be 25 years. Okay, so the first question, our amortization period, that is going to be 25 years. That's how long it's going to take for them to pay off the entire mortgage. But the current term of their mortgage is lasting for, what do they say, 5 years. 5-year mortgage at this interest rate. Perhaps it changes later. But currently, it's a 5-year term. The amount of the down payment, so of course it's a percentage of the total cost, so it's a $300,000 home. They paid 20%, so that's 0.2, which of course is going to give us $60,000. So they had $60,000 to initially purchase their home, and the amount to be financed, as in the amount that the interest is going to accrue on and all of that, is the remaining amount of money after their down payment. Okay, so of course that's going to be 300,000 minus their 60,000 down payment, and the interest is going to start being calculated on their remaining $240,000. Okay, so we see here that a TVM solver window has been started for us. Okay, so and they're asking us a few questions here. So first one for question B is, let's see, which one do we want to do first? Let's do the PMT value here. What is the PMT value and why is it negative? So what we're going to do for this one here, actually, you know what? Let's do the N one first. Let's start at the very top here. N is 300. So why is it 25 times 12 equals 300? Well, it's a 25-year amortization period, and they're making monthly payments. I believe it didn't say they were making monthly payments here. If the question doesn't define exactly how often they're paying, we can assume that they're paying monthly. That's the most common situation. Okay, so it's a 25-year mortgage, and they're paying 12 times a year. So that's going to give us 300 payments. Our interest rate that they negotiated, 3.82, right from the question. Okay. All right, they're going to find the PMT value, or that's what we're going to calculate. So the PV value is what we want to do next. So what is the PV value, and why is it positive? So that's going to be the total amount, right, that they're paying, or that they're financing, which we've discovered here is 240,000. Okay, so in this case, the PV value 240,000, and it's negative because they're paying the $240,000. Right? They're borrowing that money. Okay. The payments per year, like we said, they're paying monthly, and the compounding periods per year is 2 because it is being compounded semi-annually. Okay. So if we punch that in, we'll get a PMT value of, let's see what I have here. We will get a PMT value that we're being asked to solve for as negative $1,239.14. Okay. And that is the value of the payments they're going to make towards their mortgage. So every month they're going to have to pay $1,239.14, and it is negative. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake here. This is positive, obviously. It says, why is it positive? Haha. Sorry, so that's positive. This one's negative. This one's negative because that's the money they're paying out of pocket to pay for their loans. That's the money leaving their pocket. And the PV value is positive because this is essentially the money the bank has given them to pay for their house. Sorry, my mistake. Okay, so if we filled in everything here, we would get the PMT value to calculate $1,200, $1,239.14 for their mortgage payment. Question C, what would their house really cost if the term was continuously renegotiated to be the same throughout the amortization period? So essentially what they're saying here is that the interest would never change, as in the PMT value would stay the same. They would continue to pay the exact same payments as they initially did here through their entire amortization period, not just that initial 5-year term that we calculated here initially. Okay, so if it stayed the same the entire time, how much would they pay to pay off their house? Well, we just calculated that their payment is going to be $1,239.14 every month. And we already know from right here that they're going to have to do that 300 times until their house is paid off. So we multiply that by 300, and we will get a value of $371,742 from their mortgage payments. And then we also have to remember that they made a $60,000 down payment, right? Because remember, it was a $300,000 house, but we only took a mortgage out for $240,000. All right, so we got to take that, add to it the 60,000, And we get a $431,742 home. Okay, so as you can see, the bank is making quite a bit of money in interest. It was a $300,000 home, but these two people paid $431,742 for it. So the interest is quite large, as far as just the raw number goes, for a mortgage. But it makes sense. These mortgages are quite lengthy. They go on for a long time. So it wouldn't be too hard to understand that the interest builds up quite a bit over that time. Okay, after the 5-year term, the mortgage is up for renewal, so they have to go and they need to get a new interest rate. What is the amount on the mortgage left to be renewed? All right, so for this one, after the 5-year term, so let me see. So it's an amortization of 25 years. So after the 25 years, we're looking at 20 years left. Okay. So it was over 5 years, right? So we made 5 payments, 5 years, and we made 12 payments every year, right? So that end value is going to be 60. We've made 60 payments over that amount of time. And we made them at 3.82% interest. And we know that the present value at the start of it was $240,000. We're going to leave that positive because that is the money that the bank was owing us. We know that we are making payments of $1,239.14, and this value is negative because that's money leaving the pocket, leaving our pocket, right? And we want to calculate the final value, so we're going to find that. The payments per year, we were making 12 payments a year, once every month, and again, it was being compounded semi-annually. That means twice a year. Okay, and unless we otherwise state, the term is going to be end. We're making payments at the end of the month. Okay, so when we do that, ask our solver to find out our final value at the end of those 5 years. It will give us a value of $208,000, or $208,269 and 39 cents. Okay. So that is the remaining amount. So they went from 240,000 to 208,269. Describe the changes to the TVM solver if Justin and Jennifer chose to pay their mortgage weekly. Calculate the weekly payments in this scenario. So in this case, we would change our end value, our number of payments, to, instead of 25 times 12, we would have to do 25, because it's 25 years, times 52, because there's 52 weeks in a year. So 52 payments a year times 12 years. That would give us the new end value. And we would have to change the payments per year to 52 as well, because we'd be making 52 payments every year, as we just said. Okay. If we did that, everything else would stay the same here, the interest rate, the present value. And you would find that if we did that, we would get a payment amount of $85.61 every week. Okay. Question F. Most banks offer an accelerated weekly payment plan. The weekly payment is calculated by dividing the monthly payment by 4, and the resulting amount is paid weekly. So you might ask yourself, well, what's the difference between doing this or just simply just making weekly mortgage payments? Well, there would be more compounding periods if we did this. Obviously, paying monthly would be 12, and then periods, and then paying weekly would be 52. And if you remember from when we first started to take a look at compound interest, the more compounding periods we had, the more money you would end up spending in interest. So, although basically what I'm saying is if you were to do or complete an option of weekly payments, you would end up paying more money overall in interest. Okay. Explain why the accelerated weekly payment plan will pay the mortgage off faster. All right. So each week, well, I mean, that's what we just talked about, right? The accelerated weekly plan will pay it off faster because you'll end up paying less interest in that situation. Okay. And I think I'll leave these two questions for you guys to work through here. Given the explanation I just talked about, it'll be a good exercise for you to work through. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Yeah, and I think what I'll do is I'll leave that there for the week. I'll do this example next week, and we'll go from there. So what I want you guys to work through is the assignment. So the assignment's going to start on page 431 for this, and I want you guys to do questions 1, 2, let's do 1 to 4. Okay, so stay safe out there, guys, and I'll see you next week.